Hi and welcome to day 4 of week 1 of training cycle 2 of 2021. Let's get into it. Bulgarian training continues. Alright, today was all in all a solid and good day under the circumstances. Temporarily, I've lost a little bit of weight. I've been a bit lighter so far this week, so tonight and the next couple days, I'll work on increasing my body weight back up a little bit. It's not a large amount we're talking about. It's probably half a kilo or a kilo, somewhere in that range. But that is enough to be noticeable while you're lifting. Because when you're doing Bulgarian training, lifts that are very close to maximum, at least on pressing, bench press, overhead press, on those lifts, I really feel a difference. If I were to weigh 2 kilos less or 1 kilo less even, I do feel a difference. Think of it like this. If I'm having a bad day and I take 2% off my 90 kilo bench press, what happens? That's 2 times 0.9, which is 1.8, which is almost 2 kilos, right? So if I'm 2% weaker on a day, because, I lost, 1 or 2 kilos, which is fairly reasonable to assume, by that point, that would mean that my bench press would have gone down 2 kilos, and that means that I can't complete the rep that day. So when you have a training program like mine, which is a difficult one, and with a lot of progression, and with heavy weights, you will notice that your lifestyle and what you're doing in your life, what you're eating, how much you're sleeping, your stress, you will start to notice these things in your training. And it isn't to say that I have the toughest training program in the world. I obviously don't, because otherwise I'd be dead. Severely overtraining and basically dead. But I have a pretty tough training program all in all, especially when it comes to the time aspect, because I've added a bunch of new movements as of lately, and it does take up a significant portion of time. However, I still think it's worth it because training at this point is a significant part of my life. YouTubing, I prioritize these things. And that's partly because I plan a career in the future that has to do with fitness. Okay, as you can see there, I failed the bench press today. I didn't really know what to do. I did some thumbs up. I often talk about once you're strong and healthy, athletic, fit, whatever, you can often fail bench presses safely if you use the right technique. Now, the counter to that argument would be a guy who subscribes to me, Danny G. Check out his channel, by the way, guys. It's a strong guy who, unfortunately, I've forgotten his exact lifts, but he deadlifts well into the 200s on the he lifts well into the 200s on the deadlift. I think he lifts probably like a 140 bench press, probably like a, 240, 250 deadlift. He's somewhere in that range, right? Somewhere on that level. So he's a strong guy, and he commented that he actually hurt a rib. He broke a rib. I think that's what he said, that he broke a rib failing a bench press. Now, there are different ways you can fail a bench press. You can kind of dive bomb it from the top, or you can drop it, or whatever. I don't know what happened to him, but what I do know is he seems like a sincere guy, and he is stronger than me, so he probably put a lot more pressure on his ribs than I do with 90 kilos. And I'm assuming that he didn't, roll it down carefully. He probably dropped it a little bit. But anyway, we need to be aware of these things and aware of the different perspectives on this. So that's why I'm not just recommending everyone to bench press without a power rack, because apparently you can injure yourself while, basically recovering from, if you get stuck under a bench press, it's never a good thing. But in my experience, it isn't as bad as it's been made out to be. What I will say, though, is squats are often a lot more dangerous to fail. And squatting, as I'm doing without a power rack, as well as benching without a power rack, I mean, these are dangerous things, and I wouldn't recommend them, but there are a lot of people right now during this pandemic who can't get high quality equipment, who can't go out there, dish out all this money to buy a power rack to have in their home, for example. So there are a lot of people, squatting with ghetto setups and excuse me, and with very little safety equipment, and accidents do happen, so we need to be aware of these things. So if I had a client, for example, who I was coaching, I probably wouldn't put them on really heavy squats without a power rack. I think that's irresponsible. But me doing it to myself feels a lot better. It's similar to driving without a seatbelt. Now, I always drive with a seatbelt. I don't even have a driver's license yet, but as I'm learning how to drive, obviously I always have a seatbelt. But I can imagine that if I drove without a seatbelt myself, it wouldn't feel morally wrong. But if I told, a relative to drive without a seatbelt and force them to, that would be very bad and very wrong and terrible advice. You know what I mean? That's basically what I'm saying here. What I'm doing isn't catastrophic, but there is a decent level of risk with it, and we need to be aware of these things. Because on any given day, you can fail a squat and you can get seriously hurt. But I do think that the most important thing is being well around, just all around fit and healthy and mobile and strong and resilient. And when you are these things, you can do pretty bad shit to your body without hurting yourself. And obviously it does help that I'm young too. But I do believe that with my martial arts background, since I'm somewhat flexible, somewhat strong, I do believe, well, actually I do know that these things do prevent injuries, all right? Basically, it's this, right? If you take a girl and a 90-kilo guy, just a random girl and a random 90-kilo guy, have them sprint into each other, all right? The guy is absolutely going to hurt himself, but the girl, unless she's a beast, she is going to get seriously injured. And that's basically what it is. The guy is stronger all around his body. Every joint, every little muscle, every tendon, his bones, they're all thicker and stronger. And these things do add up. These things do make a difference. For example, we have Eric Bugenhagen here on YouTube. He did a 525-pound, I don't know what that is in kilos at the moment. Let me think a bit. It's probably 240 kilos, 250 kilos, 235 kilos, something like that. He did a Zercher deadlift with that weight, well over 200 kilos. Now, a Zercher deadlift is a terrible movement for your back. Basically, imagine a sumo deadlift, but now you bend down all the way to where your elbows almost touch the floor. So you're completely bent over. Now, you push your forearms in under the bar, and imagine like you're doing a bicep curl and you place something in the crook of your elbow. That's what you're going to do. You're going to hold the bar in the crook of your elbow, and now you're going to lift it up from the floor and stand all the way up with it. Right? That's an exercise that would just completely kill pretty much anyone's back, mine included. But he can do that exercise since he has a very high level of muscular strength and all the associated muscles with that movement. Now, my dad is going to remove the dog from the sofa where I'm sitting. Okay. Double overhand holds. These were difficult today. I really, really felt it in the calluses in my hands. You can see me looking at my hands there. The thing is, when you do these, is when you're going to grip a barbell, once you get fatigued, it slides downwards. And it slides down your hand, and I'm not strong enough to rip skin off at this moment, but one day I will be, because there's a lot of force that's being exerted, pulling and pressing on your skin, and basically the calluses that I have, these little hard pieces of skin that I do have, just basically by the base of my fingers on my hand, once you have that protrusion there in the hand, barbells can scrape down a bit easier. And so when I'm looking at my hands there, I'm not injuring myself, it's just that my skin is hurting. which obviously that's not dangerous. The only time that would ever be dangerous is if you basically just destroyed skin to the point to where bacteria can get in, cause inflammation. That's when it gets unhealthy. But your skin hurting a little bit, that isn't dangerous, that isn't bad. That never hurt anyone, right? Deadlifting to where it hurts a bit in your hands, I mean, that's fine. Okay, this hamstring curl thingamajig that I've been doing, these are insanely difficult. These are so difficult, and progressing it will be very difficult. One thing I will say that I absolutely did wrong here is I started on a progression that was too difficult. I believe so. So next week I'm going to try to get 2 reps on this same setup, but if I fail on the hamstring curl to get 2 reps, then I'm going to have to change the setup. Basically stack even more plates up there, because at this moment I don't think I can do 2 reps, and I need to progress the reps a little bit before I can just go even lower. So I made a mistake there, and a complete error on my part, by having the ego and thinking, oh man, this pile is already so high up and already looks silly, so I got to do this even though it's hard. But I think that if I wouldn't have had an ego, I would have put on a plate extra, propped it up even higher, and so that I can start working, getting 1 rep, 2 rep, 3 reps, and then working downwards, getting reps there, working down another step, getting a few reps there. Basically, it's the premise of when you're doing a bench press, right? A lot of people do 3 sets of 8 to 12 reps. So let's say you do 3 sets of 8 to 12, 3 sets of 8 with 70 kilos, right? So you're a pretty strong guy. You do 3 sets of 8 with 70 kilos. Now, you work that up to where you can do 3 sets of 12 with 70 kilos, and then you go 75 kilos. Start at 3 sets of 8 again, all right? That's basically what I'm doing, but for the hamstring. That's the plan, at least. But now, we're on overtime, so thank you for watching this video. I appreciate it, because I know these videos aren't super entertaining, but they do portray my training process, and over time they will be more and more fun to watch as I make more progress. So thank you for watching, and goodbye.